Hi, welcome back to Revenge Heat. The story you're about to hear takes place in Austin, Texas. My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 29, a paralegal at a mid-sized firm downtown, and the kind of person who color codes her budget spreadsheet and checks her bank app before she checks her texts in the morning. I say that not to brag, but because it matters. It matters because the moment I stopped checking, even for one weekend, was the moment everything I'd quietly built started to disappear. It started with a text from my sister on a Thursday afternoon. Just 4 words. Can we come stay? I should have asked more questions. I should have asked what stay meant, for how long, how many people, and what we included. Instead, I texted back, of course, before I even set my phone down. Because she was my sister, and that's what you do. At least, that's what I told myself. My sister, I'll call her Dana, is 3 years older than me, and has spent most of her adult life making choices that feel big and exciting in the moment, and expensive for everyone around her in the long run. She quit a stable nursing assistant job to focus on her art, married a man named Greg who has never, in the 4 years I've known him, held a position for longer than 6 months, and has a 2-year-old son from a previous relationship named Derek, who treats every room he walks into like it already belongs to him. When Dana called that Thursday night to fill in the details, their landlord had decided not to renew their lease. They needed 2 weeks, 3 at the most. I heard what I wanted to hear and ignored the rest. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment on the east side of Austin. It's not big, but it's mine. I've had it for 4 years. I painted the walls myself, assembled every piece of furniture with a YouTube tutorial and a lot of patience, and pay rent on time every single month. My second bedroom had been functioning as a home office, which I needed because I bring work home at least 3 nights a week. But I looked at my spare room, thought about my sister calling from a parking lot, and told myself 2 weeks was nothing. I ordered an air mattress that same night. I moved my printer to the closet, stacked my case files in a corner, and told Dana to come whenever they were ready. They arrived on a Saturday with 4 carloads of stuff, and the kind of energy that fills a space faster than furniture does. Dana hugged me so long at the door that I almost felt like the hero of something. Greg shook my hand and said he appreciated it more than I knew. Derek walked past both of us without saying anything, dropped his duffel on my couch, and asked if the Wi-Fi password was the same as last time he'd visited. That first week, I kept telling myself it was fine. Yes, the groceries I'd bought on Sunday were gone by Wednesday. Yes, Greg had apparently decided that my parking spot was more convenient than street parking and had moved his truck there without asking. Yes, Derek's sleep schedule meant there was always someone in the living room when I needed to decompress after work. But it was temporary. 2 weeks, 3 at the most. 3 weeks turned into 5, 5 turned into 8. And somewhere in those 8 weeks, the word temporary quietly packed its bags and left without telling me. I work in risk assessment. Every day I read through contracts, flag liability language, and help attorneys identify exactly where someone's exposure begins and ends. I do this for a living. And somehow I could not apply a single one of those skills to what was happening in my own apartment. I kept extending grace the way you extend a deadline when you feel bad saying no. And just like a bad deadline, it cost me more every time. The grocery bill was the first thing I noticed doubling. Then the electricity, because Greg liked the apartment at 68 degrees at all hours, and Derek ran 2 monitors and a gaming PC simultaneously. The takeout charges started small. A pizza here, a Thai delivery there, but they stacked up because no one else was offering to cover anything. I told myself I'd bring it up when things settled. But things don't settle when no one around you is trying to settle them. I'd added Dana to one of my food delivery accounts the first week so she could order groceries when I was stuck at work. It seemed practical at the time. I told her the login, said use it for household stuff, and didn't think about it again. That was my first mistake, and I didn't know it yet. The second mistake was not checking my credit card statement for 2 weeks because work had gotten brutal, a big arbitration case that had me at my desk until 9 most nights. I was behind on sleep, behind on laundry, behind on everything except the job that was actually paying for the apartment everyone else was enjoying. So when I finally sat down on a Sunday morning with my coffee and opened my banking app, I thought I was just catching up on routine. I was not catching up on routine. The number I saw made me set my coffee down very carefully, the way you set something down when your hands have stopped working properly. My credit card balance was $5,840 higher than it should have been. Not a little over. Not a rounding error. Nearly $6,000 that I had not spent. I opened the transaction history and started scrolling. A $340 charge to a clothing site I'd never heard of. A $218 order from a sneaker resale app. A $90 DoorDash order at 1:30 inches the morning. A $400 booking fee for what looked like a short-term vacation rental. A $175 charge to a gaming platform. Smaller ones scattered between subscriptions, apps, another clothing drop, another food order. Line after line after line, all from the past 11 days. All charged to my card. I sat there for a long time. The apartment was quiet. I could hear the refrigerator hum, and, distantly, the sound of Derek's game audio leaking under his door. I didn't go knock on anyone's door. I didn't wake my sister up. I went back to my room, sat on my bed, opened my laptop, and started working. I pulled every receipt. I cross-referenced the delivery addresses my apartment. I checked the device logins on my food delivery account and found that someone had used the saved payment method my credit card not just for groceries, but for an entire separate account's worth of orders that had nothing to do with household food. The sneaker app had been downloaded onto a device I didn't own. The vacation rental booking had a name on it. Derek's full name, my card. By midnight, I had a folder of screenshots, a printed summary, and a decision. I called my credit card company first, flagged every unauthorized charge and opened disputes on all of them. Then I went through my food delivery account, removed the saved payment method, changed the password, and logged out every device that wasn't mine. I checked every app where my card information might have been stored. Subscriptions, shopping sites, anything Dana could have accessed through the shared login, and removed my details from all of it. Then I set up a new card number through my bank's virtual card feature and moved my auto payments over. By 1:45 inches the morning, the bleeding had stopped. Not a single one of them could spend $1 with my name on it. I didn't sleep much, but what sleep I got was calm in a way I hadn't felt in 8 weeks. At 7:15 the next morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard Dana's voice from the hallway. She was on the phone, and her tone was the one she used when she was performing frustration for an audience. I don't understand. The payment method should be saved no. I'm not entering a new card right now. Just okay. Fine. She came around the corner still in her pajamas, phone in hand, frown pulling at her face. Hey, is something going on with your account? My order won't go through. I handed her a mug. Good morning. She blinked. Claire, my Instacart order is canceled. It says payment invalid. I know, I said. I removed my card from the account. She stared at me the way people stare when they hear a sentence but need a moment for it to arrive. Why? Because I need to talk to all three of you. Can you get Dana and Derek up? I'd like to do this at the table. Greg, she said automatically. Then, what is this about? The table, I said. Please. She stood there another moment, reading my face for something that would let her off the hook. She didn't find it. She went down the hall. It took 20 minutes for all three of them to appear. Greg came first, in the same hoodie he'd been wearing for 3 days, looking like he resented being awake before 10. Derek came last, hoodie up, eyes at half-mast, phone already in his hand. He dropped into the chair across from me without looking up. I had my laptop open, and my printed screenshots face down on the table. I want to show you all something, I said. I turned the papers over and slid them to the center of the table. The transaction list. 11 days of charges. $5,840 total. Greg leaned forward and squinted. Dana's hand went to her mouth. Derek didn't move. This is my credit card statement, I said. These are charges I did not make. They go back 11 days, all from devices and delivery addresses in this apartment. Dana lowered her hand. Claire, I can explain the food orders. I thought the account was for household. The food orders are the least of it, I said, and pointed to the line items one by one. Sneaker resale app, 2 pairs. Clothing drop, 3 items. A vacation rental deposit booked under Derek's name. A gaming platform subscription. And 16 DoorDash orders between midnight and 3 a.m. that were not household groceries. Silence. Then Derek looked up from his phone. You can't prove which device placed which order. I looked at him steadily. The vacation rental has your name, your email, and the confirmation was sent to an address you use. The sneaker app account was created on a device that logged into my Wi-Fi under a hostname I don't recognize, and the orders were shipped here. I've already talked to my credit card company. His jaw shifted. So what, you're saying I stole from you? That's a big accusation. That's what it is, I said. When you use someone's payment information without their permission to buy things for yourself, that's the definition. Greg cleared his throat. Now hang on. Derek makes mistakes. He's young. He probably didn't think through the consequences. He's 22, I said. He's still figuring things out, Greg said, his voice taking on the measured, reasonable tone of someone who has used it to walk out of a lot of difficult conversations. We're all under a lot of pressure right now. The job market is brutal. He's been struggling. I think he saw the access was there, and he didn't think. Not thinking costs someone something, I said. In this case, it cost me nearly $6,000. Dana reached across the table and touched my hand. We'll pay it back, Claire. Of course we will. We just need a little time. That's what you said 8 weeks ago, about finding a new place, I said. I didn't move my hand away, but I didn't soften either. I want to show you something else. I turned my laptop around. I'd pulled up my own budget, the real one, the color-coded one, and I'd added a column for the past 2 months, showing the actual cost of having 3 additional people in my apartment, extra groceries, utility increase, the takeout charges I'd absorbed, without saying anything. The parking ticket Greg's truck had gotten in my spot because my building considers it a violation. The cost of the air mattress I'd bought so they'd have somewhere to sleep. Not counting the credit card charges, I said. I have spent approximately $2,100 more than normal in the past 2 months. I haven't asked for any of it back. I moved my office into my closet so you'd have a room. I have been working late every night this week on a case that is incredibly demanding, and I have come home to an apartment full of people and no quiet and a credit card balance that someone else built. Dana's eyes were wet. I didn't know it was that much. Because I didn't tell you, I said. That was on me. But this I tapped the transaction sheet. This I didn't get to choose. Derek pushed back from the table slightly. Look, I'll pay you back for the stuff. It's not that deep. You have a good job. You make more money than any of us, and you're acting like we've destroyed your life over some online orders. I looked at him for a moment. I thought about all the versions of this conversation where I would have apologized for the tension in the room, or softened the number, or said I know you didn't mean it before he had actually said he didn't mean it. Derek, I said, I'm a paralegal. I make decent money. I also have student loans, a car payment, renter's insurance, and a credit card that I have used responsibly for 6 years. What I don't have is $6,000 sitting around as a buffer for someone else's shopping habit. And I want to be very clear, the fact that I have a job does not make my money available to you. He stared at the table. I closed my laptop. Here's what's gonna happen, I said. My card is off every account in this apartment. The Wi-Fi password is changing today, and the new one is on my phone only. If you need to use the internet for job applications, I will sit with you while you do it. I'm not being cruel. I'm being clear. That's humiliating, Dana said quietly. Dana, I kept my voice even. I love you. I let you in without hesitation, and for 8 weeks I've said nothing while the costs added up, because I told myself it was temporary. I need you to understand that what I'm asking for now is not punishment. It's a boundary. There is a difference. Greg leaned back and crossed his arms. So, what's the plan then? You want us to leave? I want 3 things, I said. First, a real conversation about a move-out date. Not a vague one. A calendar date. I will help you look for places. I will help you understand what's in your budget range. But this apartment cannot be indefinite. We don't have first and last months. I know. That's part of the conversation. Second, I want a written acknowledgement from Derek that he made those charges, because I have open disputes with my credit card company, and depending on how that process goes, I may need documentation. I'm not filing a police report today. I'm giving him the chance to handle this like an adult. Derek's head snapped up. You'd actually call the cops on your own family? I'm a paralegal, I said. I work next to attorneys every day who handle cases exactly like this. I know what the process looks like, and I know that unauthorized credit card use has a name in the legal system. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you the truth. The room went very quiet. And third, I said, everyone in this apartment who is able to work needs to be working or actively applying. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for effort, real effort. Not talking about it, doing it. Greg opened his mouth. I have the Indeed app on my phone, I said. There are 14 open positions within 3 miles of here that don't require experience. I'll send you the links. Nobody said anything for a long moment. Then Dana nodded, just once, small and tired. Greg looked at his coffee cup. Derek stared at the transaction sheet like he was hoping the numbers would rearrange themselves. I stood up. I'm going to work. When I come home, I'd like to see some movement. I picked up my laptop and my bag, stopped at the door, and looked back at the 3 of them still at my kitchen table. I love you, Dana. That's why I'm doing this now instead of 6 weeks from now. Then I went to work. The next few days were uncomfortable in the specific way that honesty makes things uncomfortable before it makes them better. Dana started scrolling job listings that afternoon, which was more than she'd done in the entire previous 8 weeks. Greg drove to a temp agency on Tuesday and came home with paperwork to fill out, which he complained about but did complete. Derek was harder. He spent most of the first day in his room, and when he came out, it was mostly to get food and avoid eye contact. On Wednesday evening, I came home to find a handwritten note on my kitchen counter. It was from Derek. It wasn't eloquent. It wasn't even entirely grammatically correct. But it said that he had used my card without permission, and that he understood it was wrong, and that he was sorry. His signature at the bottom. I read it twice. Then I took a photo of it and saved it to a folder. That same week, the credit card company finished reviewing the first round of disputes. They returned $3,100 to my account. The vacation rental, the sneaker purchases, and the gaming subscription, all flagged as unauthorized and reversed. The clothing charges were still under review, but watching that number climb back made something in my chest loosen in a way I hadn't realized was tight. Dana picked up 2 waitressing shifts at a place a few blocks away. She came home tired in a way that was different from couch tired, the earned kind. Greg started a temp position doing data entry on the night shift, which meant the apartment was genuinely quieter in the evenings. Derek applied to 4 jobs. He didn't get called back on most of them, but he applied. It wasn't a transformation, it was a start. And a start was different from nothing. The actual moving out conversation happened on a Saturday morning, 2.5 weeks after that table meeting. I'd printed out 3 apartment listings, all within their realistic budget once Dana and Greg both had income coming in, all within 20 minutes of the neighborhood, one of which had a month-to-month option that would buy them flexibility while they got back on their feet. Dana cried a little. Not from anger, this time. From something more complicated, relief, mixed with embarrassment, mixed with something that looked like genuine gratitude. She told me she hadn't understood how much she'd been leaning on me until I made it visible. Greg said less, but shook my hand at the end in a way that felt like he meant it. Derek and I had a shorter conversation, just the 2 of us, after his parents had gone back to the room. He sat at my kitchen counter while I washed dishes, and he asked, without looking at me, if I was going to pursue anything else with the credit card stuff. I told him the disputes had handled most of it, and that I had his written note, and that as long as he didn't give me a reason to revisit it, neither would I. I genuinely thought you wouldn't notice, he said, or that you'd just absorb it. I know, I said. That's kind of messed up, right? That I thought that? Yeah, I said. It is, but at least you can see it now. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, I've been applying to this logistics company, warehouse coordinator trainee. It's not glamorous. Does it pay? 14 an hour. That's a start, I said. They were out by the end of the month. The move wasn't clean, there were bags left behind, a floor lamp Dana couldn't fit in the truck, and a brief standoff over a blender that turned out to be mine anyway. But the door closed. And when it did, I stood in my apartment alone for the first time in 10 weeks, and just listened to how quiet it was. I stood in my second bedroom, my office, and looked at the bare air mattress in the corner and the printer on the floor and the stacked case files and thought about all the space I'd given away without being asked. Then I started putting my room back together. The credit card company finished the remaining disputes 2 weeks later. Between the chargebacks and the initial reversals, I recovered $4,900 out of the original $5,840. The remaining balance I paid down over the next 6 weeks instead of all at once. It wasn't nothing, but it was manageable, which was a word that had felt out of reach for most of the summer. One Friday evening in October, I sat at my desk in my actual office printer back in its place, files in their labeled folders, everything where it belonged, and I worked on a contract review until I was genuinely finished instead of stopping because someone needed the room. Then I closed my laptop, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat on my couch in the quiet. My phone buzzed. Dana. She sent a photo of her new apartment, small, a little worn, but hers, or theirs anyway. She'd added a little cactus on the windowsill. The caption said, "First place that's really ours in a long time. Thank you for the push." I looked at the photo for a while. I didn't feel like the villain of the story anymore. I didn't feel like the hero either. I felt like someone who had finally stopped treating her own life like a resource to be shared without consent, and started treating it like something worth protecting. My sister called a few days later. Real conversation, not logistics. She asked how I was doing, and I told her honestly, and she told me honestly, and at the end, she said she was sorry for longer than felt comfortable, and I let her finish instead of cutting her off with "it's fine." Because it hadn't been fine. And we both knew it. And saying so out loud was the first honest thing we'd said to each other in maybe years. Derek got the logistics job. I heard that third hand, through Dana, said with the kind of surprised pride that told me she hadn't expected it either. No dramatic reversal, no big apology scene. Just someone who'd been comfortable being comfortable, finally forced into motion. People say blood is thicker than water, like it's an instruction. Like the closeness of the relationship is supposed to determine how much you're willing to absorb. But I've spent enough time reading contracts to know that the terms matter as much as the parties. It doesn't matter who you're dealing with. What matters is what was agreed to, what was violated, and what you're willing to let slide. I wasn't willing anymore. If you're listening to this, and you have someone in your life who has mistaken your generosity for unlimited access, someone who has looked at the space you made for them and decided the whole house was theirs, I want you to hear this. Removing that access is not cruelty. It's not betrayal. It's not choosing money over family. It's choosing yourself, finally, after everyone else already chose themselves first. The door is yours. You're allowed to decide who gets a key.